My wife's trainer snapped, "Get lost before you embarrass yourself, old man." She laughed, "You're too soft to fight him." I just smiled. 12 years in special forces taught me patience. By the time I finished tying my shoelaces, it was already too late. Hey Reddit, I, 52 male, spent 12 years in Army Special Forces before my knees and back decided civilian life wasn't optional anymore. Not a superhero, just a guy who learned to stay steady when things go sideways. Been married to Laurel for 15 years. That night I was sitting in my truck at 10:23 p.m. on a Wednesday, watching my wife's car pull into our driveway 3 hours after her gym closed for the night. She didn't spot me immediately. I was parked half a block down with the lights off, just watching the way I used to observe supply routes in Iraq for IED placement patterns. When she finally walked past my truck heading toward the house, she was on her phone laughing at something. That laugh she used to save for me back when things were good between us. I gave her 10 minutes to get inside and settled. Then I walked in through the front door like nothing was unusual. Laurel was in the kitchen making herself tea. She jumped when I came in. Not a casual startle. That guilty flinch you do when you know you got caught. Thought you'd be asleep by now. Couldn't sleep. How was the gym? She recovered fast. Too fast. Intense. Kellen really worked me tonight. New routine focusing on lower body strength. Kellen. That was the 4th time that week his name came up before I even asked. People who aren't hiding anything don't just volunteer information out of nowhere. They answer your question and move on. But Laurel had been dropping his name into every conversation about her workouts lately, trying to make it seem normal. Innocent. Routine. You shower there? Obviously, why wouldn't I? Her hair was bone dry and perfectly styled. Her gym bag over her shoulder looked exactly as full as when she left. No wet towel bulk. But I didn't say any of that yet. Just asking. She relaxed. Thought she sold it. Walked past me toward the bedroom with that gym bag, like a prop in a terrible play. I stood there in the kitchen for another minute after she disappeared upstairs, counting all the small inconsistencies, logging the lies, adding them to the pile I'd been building for 2 months. I moved to Denver after my discharge. Spent 8 months figuring out what the world looked like when you weren't constantly scanning rooftops for snipers. Met Laurel at a community fundraiser a year later. She worked insurance claims back then. All crisp professional energy and sharp wit that could cut through nonsense instantly. We got married the following year. Nothing fancy, just immediate family and close friends. Bought the house in Westminster a couple years after that. Talked about kids for a while. Did the fertility specialist routine. Eventually stopped trying. Eventually stopped talking about it. Life got comfortable. I transitioned into private security work. Decent money, flexible hours. Laurel climbed the corporate ladder to senior claims manager. We had routines. Then 2 months ago, Laurel joined Apex Gym. Said she needed to feel better about herself. Get back in shape. I supported it immediately. Dropped $600 on the membership and training package without hesitation. Then Kellen walked into our marriage. Week 1. Kellen says I need way more protein. Like significantly more than I'm getting now. Week 2. Kellen thinks I should switch to morning sessions instead of evenings. Better energy levels, more effective workouts. Week 3. Kellen used to train professional athletes before he came to Apex. Guy really knows his stuff. Week 4. Kellen sent me this article about recovery methods. Really interesting. Did you read it yet? I hadn't. Still haven't. Pretty sure the article didn't exist. By week 5, her phone became permanently face down on every surface. Messages would come in at midnight. She'd glance, smile slightly, then disappear to the bathroom for 15 minutes with the door locked. That's when I started paying real attention. Laurel's gym schedule went from 3 times weekly to 7. Sessions supposedly ran 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., but she'd regularly roll in at 10:30 or later. When I asked about the extra time, she always had explanations ready. Traffic, store, colleague, always something reasonable. Never the same excuse twice. 3 weeks ago, I drove past Apex at 7:30 p.m. Her car wasn't in the lot. I circled twice to confirm. Then I called her. She answered breathless. Hey babe, just wrapping up. I sat in that parking lot for another hour. Her car never showed. When she got home at 11 p.m., she had no takeout containers, no receipts, nothing. Bank statements told the rest of the story. Coffee dates during work hours. Starbucks near Kellen's apartment complex. Twice in 1 week. Death by 1,000 small charges she thought I'd never notice. Sunday morning, Laurel announced she had a mandatory regional meeting. Full business suit. Heels. The complete professional package for a Sunday. I followed at a distance. Apex Performance Gym. She met Kellen in the parking lot at 10:18 a.m. They went inside together. His hand on her lower back. That possessive touch. I parked across the street and watched. They came out 2 hours later. No gym bags, no workout clothes. Just his hand on her back again as they walked to their cars. I photographed the entire sequence. Time-stamped, GPS tagged. Completely legal when you're documenting your own spouse in public. That evening, Laurel came home full of details about the meeting. Who said what? Which initiatives got approved? She was genuinely skilled at lying. Almost convinced me if I hadn't watched her spend 2 hours with Kellen instead. How's your dad doing? I asked Monday over dinner. Laurel's father, Edwin. Stage 4 lung cancer. Diagnosed 6 months ago. About the same. The chemo's really rough. Been thinking we should visit him this weekend? He's actually in a clinical trial right now. They're restricting all visitors. Edwin wasn't in any clinical trial. I'd called his oncologist that morning to verify. But Laurel didn't know I'd been making those calls. Didn't know I'd been quietly coordinating with his medical team for months. I'd been working massive overtime for 4 months specifically to cover treatment costs insurance refused. Weekend contracts, overnight shifts, holiday coverage. I'd been paying for experimental treatments, specialist consultations, better hospital rooms, everything that might improve his odds. She had zero clue I'd been quietly bankrolling her father's survival, while she spent her supposed gym time with Kellen. The rest of the week I built the case. Burner email to Apex confirmed their policy. Trainers sleeping with members meant immediate termination. Phone records showed 623 texts to Kellen in 8 weeks, most after 11 p.m. Everything backed up to 3 separate locations. Monday, I met with a divorce attorney someone from my old unit recommended. Brought photos, phone records, bank statements. Laid out the entire situation without emotion. Colorado's no fault, so the court doesn't hand out cheater penalties, she said, reviewing my documentation. But your evidence matters for negotiations, and if any marital money went to this guy, that's a real argument. Also, people get real cooperative when they know you can prove things. This evidence is very strong. How fast can we move? I can have preliminary papers ready by Friday. Do it! Friday afternoon, Laurel texted she'd be at the gym late. Kellen wanted an extra session to work on some technique issues, probably back around 10:30. I texted back, no problem, handle your business. Then I drove to Apex and bought a day pass. I walked into Apex at exactly 7 p.m., wearing jeans, work boots, and a plain black shirt. Not standard gym attire, but I wasn't there to work out. The evening crowd was thick. Office workers on treadmills, college kids at the free weights, personal trainers doing hands-on form corrections that lasted slightly too long. That's when I spotted them. Kellen was in the weights section with Laurel. Not some random client. My wife. She was laughing at something he said while he stood way too close, his hand resting on her hip like he owned the place, like he owned her. She looked up at him with that smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Interesting. Very interesting. I walked over slowly, controlled. Let them see me coming. Laurel spotted me first. Her face went through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds before landing on defiance. Not guilt, not shame. Defiance. That told me everything I needed to know about where her loyalty actually lived. Soren, what are you doing here? Thought I'd check out the facility, see what all the fuss was about. I looked at Kellen. This the guy who's been working you out every night? Kellen puffed up immediately. 6'3", maybe 225 pounds of gym muscle. The kind of guy who'd never been in a real fight, but thought bench pressing heavy made him dangerous. You need to leave, Kellen said, stepping in front of Laurel like some kind of protector. Members only during peak hours. Bought a day pass 30 minutes ago. Check with your front desk if you need to verify. Laurel grabbed Kellen's arm. Actually grabbed it. In front of me. Don't worry about him, baby. He's harmless. Too soft to do anything about it. Baby. She called him baby. Right to my face. I smiled. Not a friendly smile. The one my squad used to call my counting bodies smile. Soft, I repeated. That's a fun word. Kellen took this as encouragement. Classic mistake. He stepped closer, entering my space, playing to the small crowd that was starting to notice the tension. Laurel's told me all about you, he said loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Said you've been neglecting her for years. Too busy with work to notice what's happening in your own house? Too old and tired to keep your wife satisfied? People around us slowed down. One guy paused his set. The front desk manager noticed and started moving closer, phone in hand. Witnesses gathering. Cameras everywhere. Perfect. That right? I kept my voice level. Almost bored. She tell you anything else? She told me you're a washed-up has-been who can't perform anymore. Kellen was grinning now, feeding off Laurel's approving nod. That's why she needed a real man. Laurel actually laughed. That same laugh I used to love. Now aimed at me like a weapon. Just go home, Soren, she said, with this condescending tone that made my teeth itch. You're embarrassing yourself. Kellen could break you in half without trying. You're too old for this. Accept it. I turned to her slowly. 15 years of marriage, 4 months paying for your father's cancer treatments. And this is what I get? Standing here watching you hang off some gym bro like a participation trophy? That stopped her for about 2 seconds. What are you talking about? Dad's treatments are covered by Medicare. Sure they are, sweetheart. Keep telling yourself that. I looked back at Kellen. You done talking? Or you want to back up all that tough guy energy? Kellen's face hardened. You threatening me, old man? Threatening? Nah. I smiled again. Just curious if you're as tough as my wife thinks you are. Because from where I'm standing, you look like a guy who's never actually been hit in his life. Soren, stop it! Laurel snapped. You're making a scene. Just leave before Kellen has to teach you a lesson. Teach me a lesson? I laughed. Actually laughed. Sweetheart, I spent a long time learning how to stay calm when things get loud. Your boy toy here teaches spin class and sleeps with married women. Slight difference in curriculum. Kellen's face went red. The challenge to his manhood in front of a growing audience, with Laurel watching, was more than his ego could handle. All right, old man. His right hand curled into a fist. You asked for this. Laurel actually smiled, like she was about to watch her new man put me in my place. And just like that, he took the bait. Kellen's first punch came exactly how I expected. Right cross, all his gym power behind it, aimed at my jaw. I shifted left, minimal movement. His fist sailed past my ear and connected with the weight rack behind me. Metal crashed, plates hit the floor. Kellen howled, cradling his hand. The gym went quiet. That looked like it hurt, I said calmly. Want to try again? Or are you done? Laurel's face had gone pale. Kellen, I'm fine. He wasn't. His hand was already swelling. But ego's a heck of a drug. He came at me again. Tried to tackle this time, using his size advantage. I sidestepped, grabbed his collar, used his momentum to redirect him face first into the rowing machine. Clipped my shin on a bench doing it. Stung like heck, but adrenaline makes you pretend you don't feel anything. He bounced off and hit the floor hard. Scattered equipment everywhere. Someone nearby started recording. Multiple phones came out. Stay down, I said. Not angry, just matter of fact. It's over. But Kellen was too embarrassed to quit. Too aware of Laurel watching. He scrambled up, face flushed and bleeding from a cut above his eye, and charged again. This time I didn't bother being gentle. I caught his arm mid-swing, pivoted, and put him on the ground using a basic takedown we learned week 1 of combatives training. His face hit the mat hard. I dropped my knee on his back, pinned his arm behind him at an angle that let him know exactly how close he was to a dislocated shoulder. Stop! Laurel screamed, rushing over. You're hurting him! Get off him! He came at me 3 times in front of 20 witnesses, I said without moving. I defended myself. There's a difference. The manager was on the phone with 911. Good. I wanted this official. Soren, let him go! Laurel was crying now. Crying for him. Please! I looked at her for a long moment. My wife of 15 years. Tears streaming down her face, begging me to release the man she'd been sleeping with. The man she'd chosen over our marriage. Over loyalty. Over everything we built. You chose this, I said quietly. Remember that. I released Kellen's arm and stood up. He stayed on the ground, groaning, not eager for round 2. 2 staff guys rushed in and grabbed my shoulders, like I was the problem. I didn't fight them, just put my hands up and let them pull me back. I'm done. He's done. We're all done. The cops arrived 7 minutes later. 2 officers who separated everyone like dads, breaking up teenagers at a party. Nobody looked convinced of anything yet. Sir, can you tell us what happened? The lead officer had his notepad out. His tone was flat, cautious. I came to check out the gym. My wife's trainer got aggressive when I asked questions about their relationship. He threw a punch that missed, then tried to tackle me, then came at me swinging again. I defended myself. The officer didn't react, just wrote. Anyone else see how this started? A college kid with his phone still out stepped forward. The big dude definitely swung first. The older guy just dodged and the trainer hit the weight rack. Then the trainer charged him like twice more. Older dude barely did anything, just redirected him. 3 more people confirmed the same story. Multiple videos showed the same sequence. The officer's posture shifted slightly. Kellen throwing punches. Me redirecting. He attacked my boyfriend! Laurel was trying to spin it. He came here looking for a fight. The officer looked at her, then at me, then at Kellen still on the ground holding his shoulder. Ma'am, every witness says your boyfriend threw the first punch. Multiple recordings confirm it. Your husband hasn't thrown a single punch from what I'm seeing. He provoked him. Words aren't assault, ma'am. Fists are. Kellen was helped to his feet by one of the gym staff. He looked pathetic. Split lip, swelling eye, hand that was definitely going to need an x-ray. All that gym muscle, and he couldn't land a single hit on a 52-year-old with bad knees. You want to press charges? The officer asked me. I thought about it. Looked at Kellen, humiliated in front of everyone. Looked at Laurel, mascara running, finally seeing her lover boy for what he really was. No, I said. I think he's learned enough for tonight. The officer nodded, made some notes. We'll need statements from everyone. You're free to go when we're done. I turned to Laurel one last time. She looked broken. Not because of me. Because she'd just watched the man she thought was stronger, better, more exciting get handled by someone she'd written off. I wasn't wrecked, but I wasn't untouched either. Shirt tugged sideways, knee barking, shin bleeding a little where I'd clipped that bench. When you get home tonight, divorce papers will be on the kitchen table. My lawyer has copies of photos from your coffee dates with Kellen. Text messages, phone records, everything. Her face went white. You've been tracking me? You made the mistake of thinking I was too soft to notice what was happening in my own house. I looked around the gym one last time. At the people still recording. At Kellen being helped toward the exit by staff. At Laurel standing there realizing her whole fantasy just collapsed. The house is in my name. Cars are in my name. Joint accounts? My lawyer had me separate the funds legally yesterday. Everything documented properly. You can't do this. Already done. Oh, and Laurel? Might want to ask Kellen about his employment situation. Apex doesn't appreciate trainers who create this kind of publicity. I straightened my shirt, nodded politely to the officer. Enjoy your workout. Then I walked out into the Denver evening, hands steady, heart rate coming down. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my truck. A couple texts. One from a buddy who still lurks on neighborhood pages. One from a coworker asking if that was me. Laurel's sister Amanda calling repeatedly. Texts escalating from, "What did you do?" to, "We need to talk right now," to, "This is going to destroy her." I ignored them all, turned on the truck, sat there for a minute with the engine running, letting the adrenaline settle. My hands weren't shaking. Heart rate was normal. No second thoughts. No regret. Just this weird sense of relief, like I'd been carrying something heavy for months and finally put it down. Drove to a diner on the north side, one of those 24-hour places with worn booths and coffee that's been sitting on the burner since morning. Ordered pie and coffee from a waitress who looked like she'd seen everything twice. Sat in a corner booth watching the sun set over the front range while my old life burned down behind me. By the time pie hit the table, a few more texts had come in. The clip wasn't internet famous, just famous enough to crawl into the wrong group chat. The waitress came back, refilled my cup without asking. Rough day? Best day I've had in months, I told her honestly. She laughed, thinking I was being sarcastic. I wasn't. By the time I got home around 9 p.m., Laurel's car was gone from the driveway. She'd come back while I was at the diner, grabbed some clothes in obvious hurry based on the open dresser drawers, left most of her stuff everywhere. Probably went straight to Amanda's place to cry and rehearse some version where she was somehow the victim, where I'd overreacted, where this wasn't really her fault because I'd been working too much, or been too distant, or whatever excuse would stick. The divorce papers were still on the kitchen table exactly where I'd left them, completely untouched. She'd seen them and ran rather than face what she'd done. I poured another coffee, went out to the back deck, sat in the darkness watching lights come on across Westminster, neighbors settling in for normal Friday evenings. Dinner, TV, homework, bedtime routines? Normal life. None of them had any clue that the quiet guy 4 houses down had just demolished 2 lives in one calculated strike. Felt good. Felt right. Felt like I'd finally done something instead of just absorbing damage and staying quiet. My phone buzzed. Text from Laurel. We need to talk about this. You can't just throw away 15 years. Deleted without responding. Another arrived 30 seconds later. Please, I made a mistake. We can work through this. We can fix this. Deleted. Third message. Soren, please answer me. I love you. This doesn't have to end our marriage. It already had. I blocked her number. Blocked Amanda's for good measure since she'd be running interference. Then I opened my laptop, checked email. My attorney had sent the settlement documents right on schedule. The evidence didn't win me bonus points in court. No fault means the judge doesn't care why it ended. But people get cooperative when they know you can prove what you're saying. I signed them digitally, sent them back. Tomorrow, I'd pack Laurel's remaining stuff, put it in storage under her name, send her the key. Clean, efficient, no drama. That night, I was just going to sit there and enjoy the peace. The next 3 weeks were chaos. Over the weekend, the clip spread to a couple Denver fitness pages. Not front page news, just the kind of thing locals pass around when they're bored. Bounced around neighborhood groups and the kind of group chats where grown adults still type in all caps. Famous enough that everyone in Laurel's circle saw it by Monday. Comments called me everything from legend to psycho. Most just enjoyed watching Kellen eat floor. Laurel tried everything to reach me. Emails, texts from different numbers, messages through mutual friends. Her sister Amanda showed up at my door twice demanding I take her back. I told Amanda the same thing both times. Your sister made adult decisions. Now she gets to deal with adult consequences. The divorce moved forward without complications. Laurel tried fighting for half the house, but the adultery evidence made her ask for less, and my lawyer wasn't feeling generous. She got her car, her retirement account, and 8 grand in cash. I kept the house, my accounts, and my self-respect. The real chaos came from unexpected directions, though. Laurel's father, Edwin, called me 3 days after the gym incident. I almost didn't answer. Figured he was calling to defend his daughter, tell me I'd overreacted, ask me to reconsider the divorce. Soren, it's Edwin. Hey Edwin, how you feeling? Better, actually. The new treatment protocol you arranged is working. Doctors are cautiously optimistic. Tumors are shrinking. Long pause. I hadn't expected this conversation. Laurel told me what happened, he continued. What she did, what you did. And son, I need to tell you something important. I waited, staring out my window at the Denver skyline. About 6 months ago, Laurel came to me asking questions about my treatment costs. Wanted to know how much insurance was covering, what I was paying out of pocket. I told her Medicare was handling most of it, but there were significant gaps. Treatments they wouldn't cover. Specialists they wouldn't approve. My stomach tightened. She never mentioned it again after that conversation, Edwin said. Never offered to help financially, never asked about bills, never brought it up. I assumed she was just curious. But Soren, my oncologist told me last week that an anonymous donor has been covering everything insurance refused. Experimental treatments, specialist consultations, upgraded care facilities. Told me it's been happening for 4 months straight. Tens of thousands of dollars. Edwin, it was you, wasn't it? His voice cracked slightly. The timing matches perfectly. Laurel said you'd been working massive overtime. She assumed it was just extra projects, extra clients. Never occurred to her you were paying for her father's cancer treatments while she was off with her trainer. I didn't answer immediately. Wasn't supposed to be having this conversation. Why? Edwin asked. Why do this for me when you knew what she was doing to you? Because you didn't deserve to suffer for your daughter's choices. You're a good man dealing with something terrible. Money could help. I had money. Simple as that. He was quiet for a long moment. I heard him take a shaky breath. I told Laurel yesterday, Edwin finally said. Told her everything. How much you've been paying. How you never said anything. Never asked for credit. Just made sure I got the best care possible regardless of cost. How'd she take it? Like she got hit with a truck. Started crying. Said she had no idea. That she thought I was just getting standard Medicare coverage. That if she'd known... He trailed off. I told her if you'd known doesn't change anything. Told her she threw away the best man she was ever going to find for some gym trainer who bailed on her the second things got complicated. You didn't need to do that. Yes, I did. She needed to understand what she destroyed. You weren't just a good husband. You were quietly saving her father's life while she betrayed you. That's not something you come back from. We talked for another 20 minutes. Edwin thanked me repeatedly, voice breaking multiple times. I told him to focus on recovery, not his daughter's disaster. Told him the treatments were working and that's all that mattered. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about unintended consequences. I'd paid for Edwin's treatments because it was the right thing to do. Never thought about using it as leverage or ammunition. Never wanted him to know it came from me. But now, Laurel knew. And according to Edwin, that knowledge was tearing her apart from the inside out. Kellen's situation was entirely different and way worse for him. Apex fired him the next morning. Liability. Corporate made the call before the gym even opened. The personal training world is smaller than people think, and nobody wanted to hire the guy who got handled by a middle-aged client in footage that was still circulating. He tried going independent, posting about starting his own business. The comment section turned every ad into a highlight reel of him eating floor. His Instagram went from 22,000 followers to maybe 1,200. Mostly people still there to roast him. Part of me felt bad for about 30 seconds. Then I remembered the look on his face when he thought he was about to put the old man in his place. The bad feeling went away real quick. Laurel's life fell apart in slower, more systematic ways. Everyone at her job found out about the affair within 2 days. The gym videos identified her by name. Her colleagues saw everything, including her crying over Kellen while I stood there without a scratch. Water cooler conversations stopped when she walked by. People who used to have lunch with her suddenly had other plans. The professional network she'd spent years building started falling apart. Her boss, a woman who'd mentored Laurel for 5 years, called her in for a private conversation. Didn't fire her. Couldn't, really. No policy violation. But her boss made it crystal clear that Laurel's career had hit a dead end. No more promotions. No more high-profile assignments. No more recommendations for advancement. The corner office she'd been working toward for 3 years went to someone else. She moved in with her sister Amanda initially, That arrangement lasted exactly 2 weeks before they had a massive fight. Amanda, who'd been divorced herself and rebuilt her life alone, had zero patience for Laurel's victim act. The studio apartment in Thornton was what she could afford on short notice. Big downgrade from our house in Westminster. One room, kitchenette, shared laundry in the basement. The kind of place you live in when you're starting over from scratch. The kind that reminds you every single day what you lost and why you lost it. Her friends picked sides faster than I expected. Most sided with her initially. Divorce makes people tribal. But then Edwin started telling people about the cancer treatment payments. About how I'd been quietly funding his survival while Laurel betrayed me. That changed things fast. Several friends stopped talking to her entirely. Others got distant and judgmental. Called her selfish. Said she'd thrown away a good man for nothing. The social circle we'd built together over 15 years basically fell apart for her. People still talked to me, invited me to things, asked how I was doing. Laurel got frozen out. Not because I asked them to, because people don't respect someone who betrays loyalty that hard. I heard all this secondhand through mutual acquaintances. Didn't reach out. Didn't gloat. Just let reality do its thing. 6 weeks after the divorce finalized, I ran into Laurel at a grocery store. She looked different, worn out in a way that went deeper than just being tired. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, wearing old sweats instead of the designer athletic wear she used to favor. She spotted me in the produce section while I was picking out vegetables, froze for a second, then walked over hesitantly, shopping basket hanging from her arm. Soren. Laurel. Nobody said anything for a minute. Other shoppers moved around us, oblivious. How are you? She asked quietly. Good. You? Been better. She looked down at her basket. Instant ramen, frozen dinners, generic brand everything. Living in Thornton now. Studio apartment. I nodded but didn't offer sympathy. My dad's doing really well, she continued. Treatment's working. Doctors are saying he might actually beat this. They're talking about long-term remission. That's genuinely good news. Yeah, her voice cracked. He told me. About the payments. About you covering everything. All those experimental treatments. The specialists. The upgraded care. I waited. Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes were getting wet. I honestly thought Medicare was handling most of it. I had absolutely no idea you were working yourself into the ground to save my father while I was... She couldn't finish. Would it have mattered? I asked calmly. Would you have made different choices if you'd known? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. You made your choices based on what you wanted, I said. Not based on what I was doing or sacrificing. The money doesn't change the basic truth. You wanted something else more than you wanted our marriage. I know. She wiped her eyes. I wish I'd known. Wish I'd appreciated what I had instead of chasing something shallow and pointless. Yeah, most people wish that. After it's gone and it's too late. Laurel took a shaky breath. Is there any chance? No, I said before she could finish. There's not. She nodded slowly, accepting it. I deserve that. You deserve what you chose. You chose Kellen over stability. You chose excitement over loyalty. Adults make choices, but choices come with consequences that don't give a darn about regret. I know. Believe me, I know. She looked at me directly. Her face hardened. Kellen stopped returning my calls immediately after getting fired. Blocked my number the same day. I tried contacting him for weeks. Nothing. Like I never existed. Shocking. I was such an idiot. Not looking for sympathy. Just stating facts. Threw away a good man, a good marriage, a good life for what? For some trainer who pretended to care because it fed his ego. The second things got hard, he vanished. Yeah, you were. We stood there another moment. Two people who used to share everything. Now basically strangers. I should go, Laurel said finally. Then she hesitated. I really am sorry. For all of it. For what I did. For what I threw away. For being too blind and selfish to see what I had. I know you are. Does that matter? No, not really. But I believe you mean it. She nodded, getting that some things can't be fixed with apologies. Then she walked away toward the checkout, shoulders slumped. I went back to shopping for dinner for one. Felt nothing watching her leave. No satisfaction, no anger, no regret, just nothing. That was probably the healthiest thing I'd felt in months. Feeling nothing meant I'd actually moved on. Update. Need your advice on something alright Reddit. I need to pick your brains on this one because honestly I'm torn. Edwin, my ex-wife's father, is still fighting cancer. Remission was looking good for a while, but last week his oncologist called with news that it's back. Aggressive. They want to try a new experimental treatment protocol, but surprise, surprise, insurance won't cover it. We're talking another $47,000 out of pocket over the next 6 months. Edwin called me yesterday, voice shaking. Said he understood if I couldn't help anymore, if I didn't want to. if it was too much to ask after everything that happened. Said he wouldn't blame me one bit for walking away. His own daughter sure as heck isn't stepping up. Apparently, Laurel's studio apartment budget doesn't leave much room for cancer treatments. Here's where I'm stuck. Edwin has been nothing but good to me. Even before I married Laurel, he treated me like a son, taught me to fish, helped me install the deck on our first house, sat with me after bad days when I first got out of the army, and didn't know how to be a civilian anymore. When his daughter destroyed our marriage, he called to apologize for her, told me I deserved better, never once asked me to reconsider or give her another chance. The man didn't do anything wrong. He's just dying of cancer, and his daughter happens to be a disloyal piece of work. But here's the thing. I'm not married to Laurel anymore. Edwin isn't my father-in-law. He's just some guy I used to know who happens to need money I have. Every dollar I spend on his treatments is a dollar that could go toward my future, toward actually building something new instead of staying connected to a past I worked hard to demolish. And yeah, there's a petty part of me that thinks, why should I keep saving a life that belongs to the family of someone who betrayed me? Laurel's out there living her consequences-filled life, and every time Edwin gets better, it's because of money I earned. Money I could have spent on literally anything else. But then I think about Edwin sitting in that oncologist's office alone. Think about him calling me instead of his own daughter because he knew I was the only one who might actually help. Think about the man who never once made me feel like an outsider in his family, even when his daughter was actively sabotaging our marriage behind my back. Special forces taught me to identify weaknesses and exploit them. Edwin's situation has a big one. Me. I'm the load-bearing wall in his treatment plan. If I walk away, the whole thing collapses. So here's the question. Do I keep paying for my ex-father-in-law's cancer treatments? Arguments for, he's a good man. He didn't betray me. Walking away might literally kill him. I can afford it. Sometimes doing the right thing means doing it for people who can't repay you. Arguments against, he's not my family anymore. His daughter is the reason for that. I owe him nothing. Every dollar spent is a connection maintained to a past I'm trying to leave behind. This money could go toward my future instead. I genuinely don't know what the right move is here. Part of me wants to write the check tonight and not think about it. Part of me wants to finally, completely, cut every tie to that chapter of my life. Edwin gave me until Friday to decide. What would you do? Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.